What's up, subscribers? How you guys doing? Yo, live from New York. Awesome. I'm live from right here in Portland, Maine. So we could get some light up in here. What's up, Slim? How you doing? Questions coming in already. Live from Portugal. You know, I've never been to Portugal. I'd love to visit. How's it over there? You've always treated the piano like an actor treat roles. I don't know what that means. What do you mean by that? Can you explain that? Portugal was nice, huh? Was there last year? I thought that's where you're from. You're living. No, that's not where you're living. MD. Where's MD? I'm not sure what that stands for. Representing Trinidad. What's up, my islander? Never been to Trinidad either. Another spot that I need to go to. Growing up in Jamaica, and I never made it to Trinidad. I've been to some of the other Caribbean islands, but not Trinidad. Need to come to Trinidad. Heard you got. Nice and sunny. You should come someday. I recommend the South. Algrave. All right, I'll keep that in mind. The Netherlands. You know, when I was in college, I had a roommate from the Netherlands. Was an international student for a semester. Dude was like 6'5", weighed like 250, jacked. It was insane. Pretty nice guy though. But man, he was a monster when it comes to playing soccer. Couldn't keep up. Are you a soccer player too? And 6'5" in height? So I decided to come live today to just hang out with you guys. Sort of a slow day for me. I'm taking it easy. Ooh, the Spanish is coming in. Venezuela. You know, my wife is Puerto Rican who speaks fluent Spanish, and I haven't learned an ounce of Spanish. I mean, I can say a few words here and there, but I need to get a little bit more fluent so I can visit some of the South American countries and hang out and be able to speak Spanish. Talk about Spanish. I want to hear you guys' thoughts, especially my Venezuelan friend over there. I'm thinking of having some of my tutorials translated into Spanish. My wife's going to help me with that. For you guys, or for the viewers who don't speak English that well. What do you guys think about that? The other language that I've gotten a few requests to do translation for is French. So I'm thinking about getting some of the tutorials translated in French and Spanish. Those seems to be the two most popular language spoken on the channel. Please keep on making tutorials both free and paid. Yeah, man, I'll always do that, you know. You know, when I started YouTube, I had zero idea or interest in making money. I just started it because I loved it. One day, I recorded a little video about 4 years ago, and I put it up on Facebook. And people were like, you know, this is great. You should do more of these. Just put videos up. And I was like, sure. So I started doing that. And then someone said, hey, do you have these on YouTube? And I'm like, no. So then I started a YouTube channel and put up a video. And then that was the beginning of the channel. And then later on, I learned about monetizing videos so you can make money on YouTube. And then I decided to create a business model around all of this to, you know, create an online piano platform, because I realized that people really wanted this information. So that's what led me down this path. But I want to talk to you guys about vision. Just hang out and talk. Because one of the emails that I get a lot from you guys are, I've been playing piano for 15 years. Oh, not that long. One of the questions I get asked a lot, or just emails I get a lot from you guys, from people who are frustrated. They're stuck. They're stuck. I am stuck. I don't feel like anything I'm doing is working. I'm discouraged. I feel like giving up. I get a lot of those emails and questions. And so I decided, seeing that I have some free time today, let's talk about that stuff. So, for those of you guys who are here, tell me, what's your biggest challenge? Why do you feel stuck? What you think is not working for you? What is it you think, if I could just get this one thing, then I would be unstuck? Well, what do you think? Let's hear what you guys think. And I'll tell you what I think and what I've been through. Hello from New York, Ashley. Being fluent in all keys is one of your, so Young King just said, being fluent in all keys is one of his biggest problem. Improvisation with melodies is another one. Sight reading and playing. When you say sight reading, you talk about reading notes. My creativity, that's another one. Learning a song last minute and reading hymns. All right, so I'm listening and I'm reading them out. I'll try to touch on as many of them as I can. Getting comfortable with all my keys, yeah, that's a big one. Reading notes. Hello, my friend from Greece, Mercy. Israel, ooh, we got folks from all over. What's up, my man, Israel? So let's just talk about a little bit of those. Let's talk about the note reading factor first. As you know, most of you guys know, my channel is sort of geared more towards people who want to learn piano by ear. So that's why I haven't focused much. In fact, I don't think I've done anything really on note reading. And that's specific because I read music. My degree in music is actually in classical piano performance. It's not in jazz. Everything about jazz and gospel I taught myself. My studies in college was centered around classical piano. So I read music fairly well. But I don't teach that because that's not my focus. But note reading, just like anything else, you gotta practice. And one of the things that my teachers told me in school that really helped is that practice sight reading for 10 to 15 minutes a day. And when I mean practicing, just open a book, something simple, and just see 1, 2, 3, go. How quickly you can read through it. Don't correct yourself. So even if you're making mistakes along the way when you're reading the notes, don't correct yourself. Just try to get through the piece. But let's back up. Before you start the piece, there are a few things you want to scan real quick. Your key signature. So you want to see exactly, quickly decide what key you're in. Boom. If you're in the key of D, you go, all right, key of D has 2 sharps, F sharp, C sharp. So you sort of have a mental ground on that. And then you quickly scan the piece to see, are there any accidentals that show up and where they are. And what you're doing, you're preparing your brain to be able to decipher as many of the tripwires, so to speak, before you start the piece. And you want to be able to do this within like 20 seconds. Your key, quickly, any accidental, any strange passage that looks too complex, and then go. The other thing is, from my experience, you should try to practice sight reading from hymns. Get a hymnal, even if you don't go to church, even if you're not religious. That's not what I'm saying. The way hymns are structured, because they're 4-part harmony, you're learning how to be able to decipher chords from sheet music quickly, but also hymns are not as complex. So it's a good source to practice sight reading. So that's my tip on if you want to get better for sight reading. Get a hymnal and just spend like 10 to 15 minutes a day, just read through. Not perfecting, just read through, see how much of it you can go through, get through, and then move on to another one. It's just practicing. And that's how you get better at sight reading. Hymns are good to read, and I'm scared of churches. Why are you scared of churches, man? Hmm. Sometimes my music sounds all the same, and I find it hard to get inspired. When you say sound all the same, what do you mean? Because every song's different. So, how is your music sounding all the same? Bad experience, but the music is beautiful. I'm sorry you had a bad experience at church, but don't be afraid, I've been in churches all my life. I'm the music director for my current church, and the important thing to note is that a church is just like anywhere else, meaning it's a congregant of flawed people. And I think, in my opinion, a lot of people go to the church expecting to see angels. They're expecting people to be there without issues. And the reality is, a church is like the spiritual hospital. There are people there with a lot of stress, a lot of problems, broken homes, lost jobs, you know, failed marriages. And so it's a congregant of people who are going through the ringer just like you. And so if you go to the church and someone rubs you the wrong way, don't blame the church or don't blame the religion. You just have to look at it that I had a bad experience with a person. And you don't want to group the entire system and say, well, church people are hypocrites and this and that and that and that, because everyone is flawed. Everyone has issues. And, we all go to church for the same reason, to be a better person. And once you can look at a church from that perspective, then it helps you to look at a person as just a regular person. There will be issues, there will be jousts, there will be conflicts, there will be situations, and you just try to resolve them as you would any other situation outside of church, in the workforce, and so on. Anyways, I don't want to dive down too deep in that. Someone asked a question that I wanted to answer and I missed it. The value, but I love listening to the music that is played there. I've been studying some gospel. Okay, that was too long for me to read because the message disappears after a while. What is the best way for learning harmony? Good question. Harmony. Well, before I answer your question, what led me to piano? It was the drive to understand harmony. Because I was a singer. I mean, I am still a singer. But before I got into piano, singing was my thing. I love singing, but specifically I love singing in groups, a cappella. And I wanted to understand harmony. And one of the a cappella groups that completely blew my mind was Take Six. If you guys haven't checked out Take Six yet, pull up YouTube right now. Well, pull up a different browser, YouTube, and play some Take Six. Take and the number 6. Like, those guys are bad. And I remember being at like 16, 17, hearing Take Six harmony, and I'm just like, oh my God, how are these guys able to come up with these arrangements? Just beautiful jazz arrangement. And so that's what led me down the path of trying to understand harmony. And the buddy at my church at that point, he's like, listen, if you want to learn harmony, you got to learn keyboard. And I was like, there isn't another way? And he's like, no. Having an understanding of the keyboard really opens your mind as to how voices work and how harmony works. So that's when I became a pianist. That's what led me down the road. So before you have to understand harmony, you have to understand first in your major scale and your minor scale. Then you have to understand the diatonic harmony in each of those scales. And when I call a diatonic harmony, the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, and the 5. If you guys have been following my videos, you know that chord 1, chord 4, and chord 5 were major chords, Take C, for example. C major, F major, G major. Those are the primary major chords in the major key. The minor chords are the 2, the 3, and the 6. Yeah? So take C again, for example. We have D minor, E minor, and A minor. So those cover 6 chords in the major key, and then the 7th degree the chord built in the 7th degree is diminished. So you understand your basic harmony right there. And then from there, we start to add on to that, make it 6ths, make it 7ths, make it 9ths, make it dominant 7th. And then there's some other concepts you have to learn. Passing chords, one of them. You know, understanding chord resolution, music or Western music as we know it, which is all the music I cover in my channel. Music moves in fourths. And that's what you always hear me talking about, the cycle of fourth, the cycle of fourth. Chords and harmony in Western music likes to resolve and propel in 4. And that's why when you're on a C chord, a lot of the time you can go to an F easily, then back to C. When you go to a 5, it propels you back to 1. Again, that's an interval of a fourth. Because music in Western music works on a sort of tension and resolution concept. Tension, resolution. And so once you understand that, you start to see how harmony works. You know, once you hear a certain chord progression and you're like, where did that go? You can almost guess that, I don't know, 4 times out of 10, it moved in fourth. And then there's some other rules about harmony that I share on my website in a lot of my courses. But that's sort of the path you need to take to understand how harmony works. And then once you understand how it works, you can start to break some of those rules to create additional sound. Yeah? All right, another question. So my initial thing that I wanted to talk about, which I don't think I've gotten to yet, is vision. And the reason why I want to talk about vision is because it's what's going to keep you going. You know, when you say you're stuck, when you say you're demotivated and you have no zest to practice, no zeal, you're frustrated, think vision. Vision. What is your vision? Because we're humans, yeah? And so, yeah, I live in the U.S. I live in Maine, northeast. Mystery by Robert Greene is a great, what, motivator? Write that again so I can reread it. You can contact me through email, bro, or head over to the website and shoot me a line. So, we're talking about vision, yep. And I was saying we're all humans, which means we have good days and we have bad days. You know, not every day you want to practice, and that's all right. It's good to note that. You know, in fact, there should be 1 or 2 days a week where you kind of just give yourself a break. Because we need to have those periods of time to just, you know, hang out and just let our body recover from all that practicing, you know. When I was in school studying music, you know, sometimes a week, 2 weeks would pass and I wouldn't practice because I would just, you know, in the summertime, I'm taking a break, I'm hanging out. And so that's important. But it's also important, and this is the big one, is that you got to have a vision. Why are you doing all of this? Why are you spending money on tutorials? You know, why are you practicing 2, 3, 4 hours a day? Or what's your end goal? What's your vision? And you need to write that out on a piece of paper. Write it out on a piece of paper and post it so you can see it. Because it's that vision that's going to help you to stay on the straight and narrow when times get hard. Yeah, that's what I've been doing, because there are days I get up and I'm like, I don't want to shoot a video today. I don't want to edit any video, you know. But my long-term goal, my goal is for this channel and everything that I'm doing is so that anyone, anywhere around the world, can get access to quality tutorials and knowledge about piano. Because I spent 8 years in college, to university. I went to the University of Southern Maine for 4 years here in Portland, Maine. And I went to Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts in Kingston, Jamaica for 4 years. And so I have a lot of knowledge. I have a lot of a professional knowledge about music, music theory, and playing the piano. And it's my goal to give people access to that, if not for free, for really inexpensive anywhere around the world. So you can be rest assured that the knowledge you're getting from me is the same knowledge you would get for hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in a university classroom. Yep. You go to Berkeley, the same things I'm teaching on my channel, it's the same things they're going to teach you. And so my goal is to make music accessible as it relates to piano and make that worldwide. And so because I have that vision, that goal, that's my long-term goal, it's why I get up every day. It's why I shoot videos. It's why I do live streams. It's why I continue to do what I do. And so I want to encourage you to think about it. What is your end goal? Why do you want to learn music? I know a lot of you guys are gospel musicians. You play for your churches. And your goal is to simply get better so you can better serve your community, better serve your church. And that's a great goal. That's a great goal to have. Keep doing that. But what if you're one of those guys watching the video now and you're like, well, I don't play for a church, I don't play for a band, but I want to learn the piano. It's a good motivation to have, but you got to find something a little bit deeper than that, something a little bit more grounded to hold on to. That's going to make you want to do this, make you accountable. That's the word. Accountability. Yeah, so let's talk about accountability. If you don't have anyone holding you accountable, then it's easy to slack off. And so what I would say is to create some accountability. Yeah, create some accountability. Start playing for an open mic where you know like, well, someone's depending on me to show up tonight and play. So I got to go learn the songs. I got to get better on the piano. If you attend church and you see the church has a musical position that needs to be filled, show up and say, I want to volunteer my service to do it, whether or not you feel ready. It's not about feeling. It's about creating a sense of accountability that will get you inspired and motivated. Yeah? Play for a band. A lot of bands in your community probably looking for keyboard player. Are they playing the music that you enjoy and you like? Well, show up and say, you know, I would like to join the band, audition for the band, but create some accountability. Yeah, so this brother just says creating YouTube videos has been a way of creating sort of self accountability for himself. That's a good way too to also track your progress. You know, hire out yourself for a gig. You know, decide you're gonna play for a nursing home. In my town, the hospital here has a beautiful grand piano in the lobby, and anyone from the community can sign up slots when they would like to come in and play for the elderly and for people recovering from surgery and stuff like that. Great way, low key, because no one is judging you. You know, a lot of the time, it's just a handful of people that you're just there listening. It's a great way to both practice and again create a sense of accountability. You could make videos where you will analyze the music. Message disappeared. I wish YouTube would have the texts last a little longer, just like Facebook live stream where, you know, the message there you can scroll because they're disappearing. So I really think those are the two things. Having a vision, a long-term vision, like, you know, where do I want to take all this music stuff and piano stuff? And then creating some accountability, whether it's with a church, a nursing home, an open mic, a local band, something that's going to take you out of your room from just practicing every day and put you in front of an audience. And that's how you stay on the straight and narrow. This is how you stay motivated. This is why you don't quit. Honestly, hadn't my life play out the way it did, I probably would have quit. But once I got into college, I was on a scholarship. And so I needed to have good grades to maintain my scholarship. That became my accountability. I couldn't go home and tell my family I failed out. And so I needed to keep good grades, so I practiced to keep good grades, and that's why the scholarships kept rolling in. That's what kept me accountable. Once I graduated, you know, got a few music jobs, being the director of my church, playing in multiple bands. Those kept me, that was my accountability. I had to show up to my band rehearsals prepared. Every week I have to show up to church, be ready to sing the songs, lead the songs, play the worship songs. I have to show up for choir rehearsal on Thursdays. I got to teach the choir. I have to know the songs. I have to know the chord changes, you know. And so I have to be accountable. That's what kept me going. Now I'm creating YouTube videos. I'm selling courses. You guys are counting on me to continue to put the materials out there. So this is why I'm accountable. You know, I research topics that I don't know or I don't remember. So I make sure that I'm giving you guys information that is true and vital and accurate. Because there's a lot of people out there preaching nonsense that is not true, it's not accurate. And I want you guys to have the real thing. You know, a lot of people out there also preaching all these shortcuts, and it's misleading folks. And I think that's why a lot of people get discouraged, because they think if I just do this, then in 2 months I'm golden and I'm going to be a killing piano player. And it doesn't work like that, you know. You're crafting a skill that only a few people have the patience to do. It's not an easy thing. It takes time. And I want people come to my channel know that I'm teaching you the tools necessary to develop your skills. And so there's no shortcut. There's efficient, but there's no shortcut. So there are things that you can do to make sure that you learn the concepts quicker. But that doesn't mean you're going to be able to compress 5 years of work into 2 weeks. It just doesn't work like that. So just to recap, this is why I get up every day, and this is why I continue to do the things. And if you create a vision, your long-term goal of what you want to accomplish, and create some accountability, then you realize that this whole musical journey becomes a little bit more fun, becomes a lot less stressful, and you actually have a reason to get up and practice. So that's what I have about vision for you guys and accountability. If I do YouTube of songs by artists, I do, but I tailored it mostly to gospel, Christian, and jazz. And my reason for that is not because I'm a Christian or because I'm a church music director. I do listen to popular music. It's just that, and this is my personal opinion, there's so much bad music out there. It's just, it's bad. And that's my opinion. The lyrical content's lame. The orchestration, harmonic content is lame. And so I find gospel music to be a little bit more interesting harmonically and lyrically. Same thing with jazz. And so that's why I do that stuff, because I'm just not going to sit here and create YouTube videos on music that I don't enjoy. And that's something I want to relate to you guys too, that if there's a song that you don't like, don't force yourself to learn it. It makes no sense. You want to be working on songs that you like and you enjoy. And for me personally, 90% of pop music I don't like. I just don't think it's good. Pop music back in the 90s was better, my opinion. So that's why I tailor my channel mostly to just gospel and jazz, because that's the stuff I enjoy. If you got some Stevie Wonder, some Ray Charles, you know, some music from that time, I love that stuff too, you know. You know, it just has to be interesting. You know, if it's interesting, I'll do a tutorial on it. But someone sent me something on like Rihanna the other day, like, yo, can you do a breakdown of this? And I'm like, I'm sorry, man, nah. It was like, sorry, but you know, I have a specific taste in music and stuff that I like. I like the soulful, groovy, you know, stuff that has a lot of harmonic changes and improvisatory content. and those are the tutorials I'll do. Could you, sorry, that disappeared. Write that message again. By the way, does anyone have the time? Because I gotta leave soon. Let me just. Oh man, it's late. It's 2:30, 2:30, 2:36. I should have been out of here already. So I'm gonna have to wrap this up soon. I got a lesson to teach. So let's spend the next 5 minutes answering some questions. If there's a tutorial that you guys like, I mean a song that you'd like me to do a breakdown on, go to my website and go to the song submission form and just put it there. Yeah. What's my email? My email address is war85ren@gmail.com. You can email me stuff there too. Do you produce music? No, I don't. Producing thing is a little bit out of my wheelhouse. And it's also time consuming. I can't do that and do piano tutorials at the same time. So no, I don't produce music. I do get hired though to play piano on tracks and stuff for artists, but I personally don't produce. I might do a little something here from time to time, but the thing about producing that's just not my thing is the editing process, the mixing process and the editing. It's just like, mixing and editing tracks, it's time consuming and I'm not that good at it, so. Yeah, man, thank you. Have I ever written anything? There's one song that I have out, and I wrote it in remembrance of my mother. If you can see that picture back there, woman in the wet red dress, that's my mother. And she passed about 24 years ago in a car accident in the Cayman Islands. So I did a song in remembrance of my mother. I call it Mama. So if you go to YouTube and type in Warren McPherson Mama, you'll see it come up. That's my one and only single. I have never been good with words. In other words, I'm not a lyricist, and so I don't write, which is probably something I should spend some time practicing, but I don't, unfortunately. So that's my one and only single. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify. You guys have any more questions? Can you play now a song for us? My keyboard is not set up, so probably another time. My keyboard is not set up and I have to run soon. Any burning questions? Do you play any other instrument? No, just piano. I'm a one-trick pony, as they would say. Always wanted to learn the bass. And I said that before, but I haven't gotten the time to learn the bass yet. Yeah. So what I want you guys to do for me this week, two things. Figure out your vision and create some accountability. Could you make a tutorial on the entire course where you present all possible left-hand patterns and techniques? That probably would have to be a paid course because it's going to be a lot of work for me. But I have some stuff in the works coming up. The closest thing I have right now to getting the left hand working is the course on walking bass. I have it on my website. Go check that out. That's a good course for left hand. Messages disappeared again. I believe there's a way to save the messages. So I'll go back later on and check and try to answer as many of them as I can. How many hours a day do you practice? Not as much anymore, to be honest. I spend most of my time creating courses now. But when I was in the meet thing and practicing, I think 2 hours a day is good. If you plan your practice sessions strategically, meaning you're not just sitting there playing a bunch of stuff that comes to mind, but you have a strategic plan, like for the first 20 minutes, I'm going to work on this. Next 10 minutes, this. Next, if you have it structured, which you should, I talk about this a lot. Every time you sit down, you should already have a structured plan as to what you're working on for that session. If you have a structured plan, and 2 hours is a lot of time to get a lot done. Thing is, a lot of people say, man, I practice for 4 hours a day. I'm not improving. The thing is, how much of that is actual strategic practicing versus you just playing and regurgitating things that you already know how to do? Because if that's what you're doing, that's not practicing. Practicing should be you constantly pushing the boundary of learning something new, working on a new key, working on some new chord progressions, working on a new song. Yeah? If you're not doing constantly pushing the boundaries, that's not practicing, and that's what you want your practicing to do. There are times that you could just sit and jam and play. That's cool. Nothing's wrong with that. In fact, you should be doing that. You should be having just jam sessions where you let the creativity run with it, yeah? But when you're practicing, that needs to be a little bit more strategic and planned. Would you please put your email in the description? My email is war85ren@gmail.com, but also you can email me from my website. If you head over to my website right now at pianolessonwithwarren.com, just go to the contact page and you can email me there. I get it the same way as a regular email, and I'll respond to you. All right? Do you know the song For the Glory by Tasha Cobbs? It doesn't not ringing a bell right now, but put it in the description. I'll check it out later. Write that again. Someone asked a questions about what's the best way to learn a song besides listening to it. So write that again. Let me see exactly what you're asking. You're working on a new song. Let's say, you're given a new song to learn and you want to approach it. The first thing I usually do, and this is my method, like for example, I'm supposed to be rehearsing with a band tomorrow, and they just sent me about 14 songs, and 6 of them I've never played before. First thing I do, I listen to those songs over the course of 2 or 3 days. Just listen to it. What am I listening for? Nothing specific. I'm trying to get the form, the structure of the song in my memory. Verse, chorus, sort of the length of the verse, the chorus. While I'm listening, I'm trying to decipher any progression that I can recognize instantly. So I'm listening, I can go, oh, that's a 2-5-1 right there. At that point, I don't even know what key the song is in. I'm thinking in pure numbers, yeah? And so I'm just trying to see how much I can absorb from listening. Once I'm done with that process, and I sit at the piano now with a notepad and a pencil, and I take the song in sections, and I'm talking about like 3-bar sections. I first try to pick the key, and then once I know the key, I start trying to figure out the chords. The best way to start figuring out the chords is to figure out the bass line first. Hear where the bass goes. And based on what the bass goes, you can instantly tell what the chords are. Because, again, if you're familiar with your scale and the diatonic harmony, based on the bass movement, you can go, oh, the bass just moved from a 1 to a 6 to a 3. And so you can start matching right-hand chords with that. Then you listen for nuances in the harmony. Oh, this 3 chord that's supposed to be minor, it's actually not minor, it's major. Or the 2 chords major. You start to listen for the change in tonality to see if they change any of the diatonic harmony, which would be what we call a secondary dominant. And that's my process, and I just work my way through the song like that, listening to the bass and matching what I hear in the bass with the right-hand chords. I mean, I can do that process fairly quickly now. I can learn most songs in minutes, the entire song. But when I just started out, it took me forever to figure out certain songs, especially when the song has a lot of passing chords and changes. But it's the bass. And this is my headphones that I use. This is the one I actually use in my tutorials. But this is what I use when I want to hear bass, Very clear headphone, Audio Technica. And, I use these. Surprisingly, too, good headphones sometimes use the old Apple earbuds. These are good for hearing bass frequencies And I have another pair. I have these pair headphones right here, and these are good. So, you know, if you don't have a good headphone or earbuds, invest in that, because being able to hear clearly, you can figure out bass lines and chord progressions and hear the separation in the frequency a lot easier. So these are some good pairs of cans. I have all kind, you know, headphones, you know, invest in good headphones, because that's where it's at when it comes to transcribing and being able to decipher what's happening in the songs quickly. So those are sort of my method of how I quickly learn songs from a recording. Next question. Actually, I think, oh no. I thought there was an option to allow me to see the chats that was previously sent through, but I guess I was wrong. Any more questions? All right. If there's no more questions, well, I'm going to wrap up. I actually like this kind of live stream. This is my second live stream video, and my first one I accidentally deleted like a day after I finished it when I was out in Utah. So now I won't delete this one, but I actually like this live stream. Live streaming, it's a lot less labor intensive in terms of video editing and all of that. So I'm thinking about probably doing one of these a week where I just hang out with you guys and answer questions. Difference between, sorry, that disappeared. Orlando, what's going on, brother? Yeah, I like the live stream thing. It's pretty cool. I'll probably try to do this from my desktop the next time, because messages are disappearing. Where you from, Orlando? Do you write down passing chords progressions? Of course, of course, of course. You see, again, I'm at the level now where I memorize most things. But when you're just starting out, man, just write down as many things as you can. Like, work that notepad, you know. Nothing is wrong with writing down stuff. How long did it take you to learn all 12 keys? Well, you know, that's one of the first goals, because I studied music formally. So right out the gate as a freshman, like, you got to learn all 12 major scales by the end of the year. You know, because you got, every semester you got exams. We have a panel of judges. You have a certain amount of pieces you have to play for them and stuff. And so, you know, it was pretty rigorous. But quickly I had to knock my keys out. You know, you have, what, we had like 4 hours of theory classes every week. And so, you know, those things, let me say this. Your keys, learning all 12 major scales, being able to play just basic triads in all 12 keys should be your primary goal and #1 goal. I can't stress this enough, guys. Like, you want to learn about passing chords and lines and licks and runs, and I know that stuff's cool. But if you can't play in all 12 keys yet, it's going to make those concepts harder to learn. Because let's check it. Secondary dominance, chromatic medians, minor chromatic passing, first inversion passing, tritone substitution, reharmonization techniques, chord extensions, flat 13ths, altered chords. All those concepts require you to pull chords that doesn't belong to the key. So if you don't know the chords from all the 12 major scale, then how are you going to start pulling chords from random places? You don't know where the chords come from or how to tie it into the key that you're currently in. And so until you master all 12 keys, and I'm saying this, master, like right now, any key a singer sings in, I can play equally as well as I can in C. You have to, like, you can't stress this enough. You got to work in your chords in all keys. I'm not talking about complex chords. I'm talking about like just triads, root position stuff in all 12 keys, and be able to play your major scales if it's even just 1 octave, hands together, do 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 do. You know, you got to do that. And honestly, if you buckle down today, today's what? Friday. What today's date? The 27th, whatever it is. April, Friday, the 27th. If you decide today, you know, I'm going to master all 12 major scales in all my basic triads. You should be able to do this in 5 weeks, 6 weeks, if you're practicing 1 to 2 hours a day, even an hour a day. At the end of 6 weeks, you'd be surprised how far ahead you go. But again, vision. You got to get your vision, and you have to get some accountability. Roll up your sleeve and just do the work. You'll be proud of yourself when you're finished. You'll feel a comfort, guys. You know, as I said earlier, there's no shortcuts. But you can do things more efficiently, and you can make progress quickly if you just think a little bit more strategic. Get a pencil and a paper, write down the things you need to do. And, you know, I talk about it. I'm actually going to create just for you guys, I'm going to give it away free, a sheet, a practice template, like something you can fill out. But like, all right, today, Monday, boom, and you know, because I really want you guys to excel at this. It's so much fun when you have the knowledge here, and then you start to execute it here, and hear the sounds that you can create. We are all different, yeah? And so I'm dying to hear the music that you guys are going to be able to create once you get this thing down. Everybody's going to play differently. I know a lot of you guys say, yo, man, I want to be able to play like you, and that's cool. But you're not going to play like me. You're going to play like you, which is even going to be cooler. Because when I just started out, a lot of the guys that I aspire to sound like, and I do everything they do, it still didn't sound like them. It sounded like me, and it was unique, and it was cool. And I'm dying to hear the stuff that you guys are going to come up with. But I'm imploring you, put some time in and do the basic. True, but it feels like I'm going nowhere in church. What do you mean by that? You're not learning the church tunes? Yeah, this brother just says he learned all 12 keys in 14 weeks. And so if you're saying, man, I've been playing piano for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and I still can't play in all 12 keys, that's because you haven't been putting in the work. And I'm not saying that to beat you down. I'm just saying what's real. Like, come on, giddy up, guys. Keys. Learn your major scales, learn the basic progressions, and then we can start talking about the cool stuff like licks and runs and lines. Because when you talk about improvisation, what is improvisation? It's lines. Where does the lines come from? Scales. So if you haven't been training your fingers to play scales, you can't play lines, you can't play runs. You know, and so you realize that everything is interconnected. And to be good at one, you need to be good at the other. You know, you need to learn your theory, you need to learn your keys. You got to be developing your ear, you know, and to talk about that, some tips of how to get your ears going. And I'm going to release some more courses and videos about more strategic things you can do to practice ear training. Because at the end of the day, remember that music is an oral art. Yeah? If you can't hear, you can't make distinctions about up, down, left, or right. Yeah? It is better to think of scales in terms of intervals or shapes. Both. I'm a visual learner. Yeah? And so when I look at the piano, I can see the shapes of my chords. I can see the shapes of my scales. And so you want to be able to... The thing is, anything that helps you to get one step closer to your goal, great. Do it. Use it. And so I think about my scales as shape, how it looks with the combination of the black and the white keys. But you have to also think about them in intervals, you know. You don't have to be sitting there thinking about it mathematically, like whole step, half step, all of that. You want to be able to break it down that way if you have to. But it's the two things that works for me is the shape and what I call the crossovers, when the crossovers happen. The good news is, once you learn your minor scales and your major scales, then every other scales become significantly easier. So when you hear talk about blues scales and pentatonic scales and, you know, Phrygian dominant and the double harmonic minor and the Locrian, all that stuff, like every other scales becomes significantly easier. Why? Because they're all derivative from the major scales and the minor scales. And so once you put in the time, put in the time up front, major scales, minor scales, then you realize that on the back end, learning the other scales becomes super easy. Because your fingers, these muscles that you're training, get used to the contour of scale. I mean, you only got 5 fingers. There can only be so many variations to playing lines on the piano. Yeah? And then after a while, the visual effect starts to come in. You start to see patterns of the scales, you know. And again, there's only 12 keys. So how long is it going to take you to master 12 keys? You know? Eventually, everything just sort of gets easier and easier. And remember, the piano is a pattern thing. So once you move to another key, the keys change, the notes change, but the pattern sort of stays the same because it's all whole steps and half steps. And those distance don't change, you know? So everything sorts of ties around. Jesus, I can see your lesson live. I can play keyboard live with you myself. Yeah, man. But, you know, as you can see, I get passionate about this stuff because I love music. And, you know, I was late to the game, meaning I was just approaching 18 years old when I decided, man, I'm going to try this music thing. And a lot of people looked at me sideways like, you crazy? You need to go find a real job, you know, because most people who decide to make music a career started at like 6, 7 years old taking piano lessons. I was late, you know, and so I always felt like I needed to be catching up. And so I was humbled. I feel like I'm still humbled. I was always trying to learn something from everybody, you know, and I think that's one of the reasons I propelled because I never felt like I knew anything. You're 31, it's not too late, man. I tell this story all the time. When I was in college in Jamaica, I met this white dude from, he's Canadian. I don't remember where in Canada. But at that time, he was like 62 years old. He was a jazz pianist touring with a jazz choir from Canada. And he said he was like an insurance salesman all his life. And then he woke up at 50 years old and he decided he don't want to do this no more. He's always wanted to do music, but, you know, got a wife and a kid to take care of. You know, you got to work the day job. But, you know, at 50 years old, his kids are grown and gone. His responsibility is lightened, and he decided he wanted to do music full time. And so he started taking some lessons at age 50. By the time the dude was 60, he was touring and teaching a jazz choir. Now let that simmer for a bit. Ages 50 to 60, he not only learned, but mastered the piano enough to tour with a jazz choir in which he's the director and teach jazz piano. So when you say, oh, I'm 21 and I'm just starting out, or I'm 30, or I'm 40, there's still time. What's going to decide how much you progress and how fast you progress is how you structure your practice sessions. You have to think about this like a math problem. You got to think about it like you're going into battle and you need some strategies, yeah? And so you got to start writing down all the things that you need to accomplish. Not in any specific order, just start listing them because you need to see the things that's standing between you and your goal. And then you need to take each topic and see how you can break it down using my videos, my courses. What does Warren say about this topic? And write down the things you need to do and how you need to do it and get cracking. Each day you get up to practice, you need to have a plan when you sit down. And if you approach each practice session like that, you're going to be making strides. Like people are going to look at you and be like, man, when did you learn to play the piano this good? It is possible. I mean, if you just look at how much time we spend doing other things, if you just take a little time of that and put some strategic time into your playing and your practicing, you guys could accomplish the same thing I did. I'm 33 years old. I started music at 18. How did I do that in 15 years? Well, part of it I had to because, you know, my scholarship depended on it. But the other thing that, as I would say, keep the fire lit, so I kept going, was the fact that I didn't want to do anything else with my life. I didn't want to go push paper for a desk job. Not that anything's wrong with that. If you guys have a desk job where you do a lot of paperwork, I wanted to be an artist. And I know that, the being an artist thing, it's just a struggling thing, as we say, there's a lot of starving artists out there. But I knew I wanted to be an artist, but also know I didn't want to be a starving artist. And so I sort of worked hard and created my situation so I didn't have to be a starving artist. Now, if someone calls me for a gig, I have the option to take it or not. I don't have to take everything that comes my way because, oh man, I need the money. I'm not rich. I'm not saying that. But the thing I'm trying to say, or the point I'm trying to bring across is if your back's against the wall, then you'll do the work. Most of you guys doing this for fun or, to be better at your church, you already have a brilliant day job, you're making good money, and that's all right. But for me, I'm just telling you why I worked hard because for me, I felt like I had nothing else. I couldn't be like, well, if music don't work out, I'm going to be a plumber. I don't know nothing about plumbing nor engineering. So it was music or nothing. That was it for me. I didn't have any other trade that I was like, I could rely on. So I was like, music has to work. And so I want you to sort of employ some of that mindset, some scarcity, like this has to work or nothing. All right, anyway, guys, well, I have to head out now to go teach some lessons. I'm also going roller skating tonight. Any of you guys roller skate? I just took this up about a month ago. Man, it's fun. It's fun. And I know it's Friday night, so there's going to be a bunch of kids at the arena too. But it's fun. So I'm going to go teach some lessons, and then I'm going to go roller skate. All right, y'all. So until then, what do we say? Keep listening, keep singing, and keep practicing. And I will catch you soon in the next tutorial. Have a good one. All right. Bye.